Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parudikacharya Ashtotirtha Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parudikacharya Ashtotirtha Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai All glories to the assembled devotees All glories to the assembled devotees All glories to the assembled devotees All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On the 7th day of February 2024 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 5 entitled Karma Yoga, Action and Krishna Consciousness, page 233, text 5 at the bottom of the page. Yat Sāṅkhya Prapyate Sthanam Tad Yogair Apigamyate Ekam Sāṅkhyam Cha Yogam Cha Yah Pashyati Sapashyati Yat Sāṅkhya Prapyate Sthanam Tad Yogair Apigamyate Ekam Sāṅkhyam Cha Yogam Cha Yak Pashyati Sapashyati Yat Sāṅkhya Prapyate Sthanam Tad Yogair Apigamyate Ekam Sāṅkhyam Cha Yogam Cha Yak Pashyati Sapashyati Yat Sāṅkhya Prapyate Sthanam Tad Yogair Apigamyate Ekam Sāṅkhyam Cha Yogam Cha Yak Pashyati Sapashyati Yat Sāṅkhya Prapyate Sthanam Tad Yogair Apigamyate Ekam Sāṅkhyam Cha Yogam Cha Yak Pashyati Sapashyati. Yat Sāṅkhya Prapyate Sthanam Tad Yogair Apigamyate Ekam Sāṅkhyam Cha Yogam Cha Yak Pashyati Sapashyati. Bottom 233. Want to try it? Go ahead. Text 5. Yes. Yat Sāṅkhya Prapyate Sthanam Tad Yogair Apigamyate Ekam Sāṅkhyam Cha Yogam Cha Yak Pashyati Sapashyati. Want to try? Yat Sāṅkhya Prapyate Sthanam Tad Yogair Apigamyate Ekam Sāṅkhyam Cha Yogam Cha Yak Pashyati Sapashyati. Anyone online? Tapas.
Yat Sāṅkhya Prapyate Sthanam
Yat Sāṅkhya Prapyate Sthanam
Tad Yogair Apigamyate
Tad Yogair Apigamyate
Ekam Sāṅkhyam Cha Yogam Cha
Ekam Sāṅkhyam Cha Yogam Cha
Yah Pashyati Sapashyati.
Yak Pashyati Sapashyati. Tapas, you there?
Yat Sāṅkhya Prapyate Sthanam
Yat Sāṅkhya Prapyate Sthanam
Tad Yogair Apigamyate
Tad Yogair Apigamyate
Ekam Sāṅkhyam Cha Yogam Cha
Ekam Sāṅkhyam Cha Yogam Cha
Ya Pashyati Sapashyati.
Yat Pashyati Sapashyati. You sound like you're chanting from Goloka Vrindavan. We can hardly hear you.
Sorry, Prabhu, I'll fix my computer. It's my computer related problem.
Now you sound better. Okay, just kidding. Synonyms: Yat, what? Sāṅkhya, by means of Sāṅkhya philosophy. prapyate is achieved, sthanam, place, tat, that, yogai, by devotional service, api also gamyate, one can attain. Ekam, one, Sāṅkhyam, analytical study, cha, and yogam, action and devotion, cha, and yaha, one who, pashyati, sees, saha, he, pashyati, actually sees. Translation. One who knows that the position reached by means of analytical study can also be attained by devotional service, and who therefore sees analytical study and devotional service to be on the same level, sees things as they are. The real purpose of philosophical research is to find the ultimate goal of life. Since the ultimate goal of life is self-realization, there is no difference between the conclusions reached by the two processes. By Sāṅkhya philosophical research, one comes to the conclusion that a living entity is not a part and parcel of the material world, but of the Supreme Spirit whole. Consequently, the Spirit soul has nothing to do with the material world. His actions must be in some relation with the Supreme. When he acts in Krishna consciousness, he is actually in his constitutional position. In the first process, Sāṅkhya, one has to become detached from matter. And in the devotional yoga process, one has to attach himself to the work of Krishna consciousness. Factually, both processes are the same, although superficially one process appears to involve detachment and the other process appears to involve attachment. Detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna are one and the same. One who can see these things, one who can see this, sees things as they are. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, again, underlying this verse and what Krishna is laying out here and what Prabhupada is explaining is the idea that knowledge of what we are and who we are and what our real action, our success of our action will be, is the foundation of actually acting on that level. Just like if you plan to go to school, plan to college, say, then what's going to inspire you to go to college? Well, you're going to hear from your parents, right? First, how important it is. You'll investigate a little bit what the offering is, and you become interested in some subject matter. And then it'll come to the point where you have the opportunity of going. Your parents will say, "Okay, we'll pay for the first year or whatever, you know, and maybe you'll get a scholarship." So the idea is that the knowledge of what's offered and what will attract you. That number one, I want to find out something about this, and you know, maybe pursue a career and that way become successful. And you have the knowledge that you have the power to do it. You proved that in your high school career that you're smart enough to do it, you know, and you have the facility, and so I'll go for it. In other words, this is what impels us. Prabhupada would often talk about the mind. I remember when I first heard this, it was so enlightening. What is the mind doing? Thinking, feeling, and willing. Thinking, feeling, and willing. And when you think about it, that's what we're doing all the time. We're thinking about things, sometimes just thinking, but then we want to do something to follow up that thought, right? And so a feeling arises. The feeling can be one of fear. Wow, I just read this news story. There's a huge storm coming to San Diego. There's going to be flooding. I think I'll go to the mountains. You know, I'm going to go to Arizona. And then you will it. You get in the car, then you go there. So you're thinking, feeling, and willing. So Sāṅkhya is the thinking. Sāṅkhya, as I mentioned last time, oftentimes in other Bhagavad Gitas you find the second chapter is titled as Sāṅkhya Yoga. Because the emphasis there is on this distinction between the soul and the body. What doesn't the soul do? The soul can't be cut, the soul can't be wet, the soul can't be burned, right? And the soul doesn't die, the soul is not born, you see. But what does the soul do? In other words, you don't really hear about much what the real function of the soul is. But it's clear that the soul when we identify with something that isn't the soul, then we're in illusion. And that thing is of course the body. The body is simply a temporary home for the soul by which we can fulfill our unfulfilled desires and work out our karma, and if we and hopefully get the right knowledge, meeting the right person, getting the right or the media, by which we can begin the process of self-realization, understanding, acting like we actually are. So that Sāṅkhya and the yoga kind of go together. You see that? But Sāṅkhya, there's also this impersonal Sāṅkhya. The what you say, imposter, Kapila Dev, who just preached that the whole idea is just to analyze. What are these 24 elements? All right, we got the 5 active senses, we got the 5 knowledge-acquiring senses, right? And we have the different airs, and we have all of this stuff, and then but you don't get to the real point, which is the super soul. The whole idea of that is to say, okay, this is how it came out. This is our tools. Now let's use them to connect ourselves, the soul, to the Supreme Lord. And then we'll be out of this body eventually, and no more physical body, if we perfect it. So without the yoga, the Sāṅkhya doesn't really mean anything. It's just basically science. It's what the scientists do. Analyzing this world and investigating in order to exploit it, in order to figure out how it works so that we can control nature. But you can't control nature. We're completely controlled by nature, right? It's an illusion. And that's why there's so much trouble. Oh yeah, now we got the oil, we got all this energy. Haribol, Mark. And so, but in the end, you create a mess, right? Global warming this is why we had all the rain. The oceans are heating up. We're filling it with plastic. You ever see any of these poor fish that die because they ingest that plastic? It's horrible, But we can't stop. It's like each country thinks, oh, if I, stop using the oil and try to do the other thing, and it's going to be a real sacrifice, and the other country will just keep using it. Right? Isn't that a thing? So it's like a suicide pact. The whole world is heading toward. Of course, Krishna's in charge. 10,000 years, somehow or other, it has to be resolved. But what we know, what we learn from Srila Prabhupada's books, from the Shastra, the essence of the Shastra that he's given us, is that we need to become firmly fixed in the knowledge of basically Sambandha Gyan, what Lord Chaitanya called Sambandha Gyan. Who am I? That was the first question of Sanatana Goswami. What am I anyway? Why am I suffering? I'm trying to enjoy, but I'm not, And I know I'm heading toward old age and death, what's it all mean? So he approached Lord Chaitanya. He's the ideal shishya, guru, disciple. So that's if we don't ask that question, then we just get caught up in the whole illusory battle to try to live in this world and somehow eke out a place of happiness and peace. There cannot be any happiness and peace. There can be temporary illusion of those things, but time and circumstances just sweep it away. We can see. Of course, this is small potatoes, what we would be going through here. But there are places in the world where huge floods wipe away whole villages in the Himalayas because the glaciers are melting because of the warming. It's anthropogenic climate change. So it behooves us to understand this is not our home. This is not our home. It's not a comfortable place. There's no point in trying to make it comfortable. We'll just live as simply as possible, do the needful, and invest our time and our energy and our attention in reawakening ourselves to our actual relationship with the Supreme, to Krishna, and act in that relationship and make serious progress in this lifetime and going back to Godhead. And even if we're really determined and serious, we can even go back in this lifetime. Prabhupada, when he was preaching, he was always encouraging us to go for broke, so you can go back to God in this lifetime. But then, you have the encouragement that nothing is lost, and with all the millions and millions of births we've been through already, it's just very nice to know that, okay, you know, I'm going to go back to Godhead, or maybe a few more births, but I'm going to, you know, don't fall into this illusion that somehow you can take it easy, you know. And it's there's the principle of Yartakalatvam, which is one of the 9 principles of ecstasy, you know, outlined. And it means not wasting time. Is that serious? Every moment counts. There's this nice verse in this Ashtaka about the holy name called the Kevalashtaka. And I put the whole thing in a poem. I'll just give you this one verse. This is my favorite verse in it. And every line ends with Harinameva Kevalam. Every verse ends, you know, from that famous verse. So he says, remember that our final breath may come at any time, no matter if we're old and sick or in our youthful prime. So young and old alike should chant the name incessantly. The holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. And how many times did you hear Prabhupada, you know, and then you say, really? How's that work? Yes, we should try to come to the point of chanting Hare Krishna mantra 24 hours a day. 24 hours a day. Anyway, but the whole idea is that you chant so much that even in your sleep you're chanting. What else could it mean? Right? What else could it mean? You know, it sounds impossible, but that's what the meaning of this whole movement is. To arrange in such a way to give you the opportunity, if you're serious, to be able to cultivate the remembrance of Krishna 24 hours a day. And then you're on the safe side, just like we're reading about Prahlad. Yeah, he didn't care, you know, if his father succeeded in breaking his body, you know, because he's completely fixed on Krishna. Here or there, he's going to keep serving Krishna. Right? That's the great devotion. And we saw it in Prabhupada. He was also fearless. One time someone asked him, of course his name is Abhay Charanaravinda. Abhay means fearless. He was given that name. But someone must ask him, well, what do you feel, you know, when you chant Hare Krishna? What's the thing? He says, no fear. Which when you think about it is pretty amazing. You know, he's getting on that boat and a strange place, no money, no friends, you know. I mean, just thinking about it, if you freak out, you know. My God. You know, imagine going to a strange country with, you know, $12. Nobody there to really greet you. You know, you don't have a, and it's just on an apparently impossible mission. He wrote that prayer, Markane Bhagavad Dharma, and he said, somehow you brought me to this country, you know, this horrible place. He took a walk into Boston. He came back on the boat and wrote this, and he saw the city, you know. For some reason, you brought me this horrible place, and so it's up to you to make my power of speaking such that they'll be able to understand it. So he's praying that, you know, I'm just your puppet. So then those famous line, you know, so if you want to make me dance, say, make me dance, oh Lord, as you like, you know. And that's the real, the sense of security that a devotee has, a pure devotee. It's up to Krishna, whatever he wants. You know, I'm simply doing his will, whatever he wants. And since we're doing Krishna's mission, then he makes these amazing arrangements. You read Prabhupada's life, you know, the wonderful Prabhupada Lilamrita, and so many other nice accounts. There's a wonderful book that was compiled, it was written by Mula Prakriti. She was one of the pioneer book distributors. And she came down with a disease, and then she lived in India for some time, but she was well enough, she was going around and finding those people who knew Prabhupada before he came to America. And she interviewed many of them, and so many amazing stories. You know, Prabhupada's in Radha Damodar temple, and there was one priest there who was there all the time and taking care, you know. And one time he hears Prabhupada's chanting, it's nighttime, you know, and Prabhupada's chanting it loudly, you know, and he's out in the patio or the place where, you know, all the samadhis are. And he was wearing this garland, extraordinary garland. The fragrance was so great that he could smell it like up on the top floor, and Prabhupada was on the ground. I said, what is that? Where did that come from? I don't think Prabhupada told him, but he understood that, you know, Krishna had given him this garland. This is not an ordinary garland. There were no garlands being made during the day for nighttime. You know what I'm saying? And Prabhupada was just chanting, and then he talked to him and asked him, he's just praying. He said, because my spiritual master has given me this impossible task, and I don't know how I'm going to do it. And then there's another time, where Prabhupada related, where Rupa Goswami appeared to him. He's right there, there's samadhi. Samadhi means the place where the actual body is interred. That's what samadhi too means. There's only one samadhi for each acharya. So, but Rupa Goswami came, and told him, he said, you just write these books, and we'll take care of everything else. He told him that. He encouraged him. You go there and you write these books, So Prabhupada's, lifetime is filled with all these miracles, he tells the story of his childhood, because he grew up in Calcutta, and sometimes there were these Hindu-Muslim riots there, even in those days, in the late 19th century, early 20th century. So Prabhupada's a little 6-year-old boy or something, And there's riots going on, and his parents were freaking out because he wasn't coming home, And they knew that would happen. There would be deaths and everything. So Prabhupada, he comes running down the street and says, oh, he's here. So they took him in, knocked the gate, So he told later what happened, that some Muslim guy was coming after him with a knife or a sword. He would have killed him. But Prabhupada luckily was pretty athletic, he's running, kids can get pretty fast, and he outran the guy. And one of the, at least a half a dozen times when Prabhupada was always perished, either from a disease or a head-on collision in Mauritius. Somebody's driving on the wrong side of the street, they come around a corner and boom, And those who were in the car, luckily Prabhupada wasn't injured that much, nobody was. They weren't going that fast, obviously. But those who were in the car noticed that Prabhupada braced himself seconds before the crash came. He had his cane and he braced himself. He had some intuition, so it was going to happen, So anyway, there's all these amazing stories, and Krishna protected him throughout, and so that the mission could be successful. And we can take knowing that, here again, this knowledge, knowing that, we can encourage us in our own devotional service. Yes, hook up to Prabhupada's mission. There'll be so many adventures, so many dangers, but it'll be a tremendous adventure, and you'll be fulfilling your own mission of your own soul, and you'll get so much mercy from Lord Chaitanya, from Prabhupada, the Parampara, somehow or other, to take up this process and help spread Krishna consciousness. So the Sāṅkhya is an important part. If you go to, if you read the teachings of Kapila Deva, I think I mentioned this at the end of the third canto. You'll see that there's so much Sāṅkhya, analysis of how these different elements that we're made of, the senses, the mind, the intelligence, how they interact with the modes of nature. And the false ego interacts with the mode of nature and produce these things and gradually manifest the body that we need to fulfill our karma from the last life. It's a whole thing. So knowing that, we should know that, okay, then the false ego produces that. If we do the real ego, if we act as our real ego as servants of Krishna, then we can gradually get rid of all these things, these impositions, the material impositions, and act with our real spiritual senses and reawaken our understanding of our swarup, which is really what mukti is all about. So, any questions on this verse, text 5? Okay. What happened to those mic? There's one. No, we have it over here. Here. He's got one. He's got it. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. So this question relates to the soul, which is Satchit Ananda, correct?
In its original, yes, state, yeah.
So I was wondering, is knowledge tied in then with consciousness? So it's knowledge, sure, bliss, totally. and eternality, right?
I'm sorry? Yeah, Satchidananda, yeah.
Yeah. Is the knowledge part tied in with consciousness? Or how does...
Yeah, consciousness is always there. We are consciousness,
yes.
In one sense. We're conscious entities. So, you mean the chit part?
Yes.
The chit, yeah.
Yes.
Chit means knowledge, eternity, knowledge, and bliss. That's the nature. But knowledge means full knowledge of our actual form and our function, who we actually are, and knowledge of Krishna, of course, awareness of Krishna, and the relationship, and all the things that we need to do in order to act in that relationship. That's all knowledge. And then the Sat, that's the eternal form that we have, completely made of spirit. And with that form, then we can, on the basis of that knowledge, we know how to act just perfectly to fulfill our actual rasa with Krishna, relationship with Krishna. And the result is bliss. You're in Ananda all the time. What more do you need? Okay, you can use that one.
Thank you for class.
All right, still going on.
I have a kind of an add-on question to what Chad mentioned.
Yeah.
Right? That
keep it close.
So like there's different types of knowledge, right? There's like our brain has knowledge, but then again, like our body has knowledge. Like I don't have to tell my lungs to breathe. My lungs just do it. Like I don't tell my skin cells to grow. My skin cells like know. So like there's the knowledge of like my brain trying to think stuff, but then again, there's these genetic knowledge. There's like an etherical knowledge or spiritual knowledge.
Well, what we understand is that nothing is happening just automatically. That when the incredible intricate processes of the body, of any physical body, with the human body or anything, that's all under the guidance, under the supervision of Krishna. In other words, he's arranged for the cells and to interact in such a way that it sustains our life. Every single organism is an amazing creation, and behind that is an intelligence, which means there's a person. It's not our intelligence. We didn't create the body. It's Krishna. Ultimately, he's Krishna, and he delegates. He expands. This is an important point, that Krishna can expand, and that expansion is also him in a very important way. Just like he expands in Balaram expands in Sāṅkhya, then you got the Chaturyuha, Vasudeva, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, and Sāṅkhya, then the second Sāṅkhya, and it goes on, and then we come to the Mahavishnu, who's also Krishna lying, and all the living entities are merged in him at the time of annihilation, and then he breathes out, and then all these little universes come out and start expanding, and then he glances and he injects those living entities into the universe, and Brahma then figures out how to give them bodies, and we start. There's a tremendous amount of knowledge all over the place, but the living entity has a knowledge, but ultimately it's all coming from Krishna. He's arranged it so that it all works, and we're in this bubble mostly of ignorance in our conditioned state, and we're thinking that we're controlling this aspect of material energy, and now we're discovering this and all this and that. But it's just a grand illusion. The whole thing is a tremendous, the only thing, the analogy I can think is a con job by Maya to make us think that we can be happy and safe here. It makes us forget. We forget our previous life, and even in this life, you forget so much from your early days. It's not like we know everything that that happened. We have a certain amount of knowledge, and if we don't use it, we lose it. I found that with the shlokas. I have these memorized shlokas, and then suddenly I forget a line. It's very frustrating, because it's all, But the point is that deep down inside, what really counts is, what do we have a mission in life? Can we accept this mission, which is really the only thing we're striving for? Because it's the only thing that ends, if we succeed, in a permanent state of happiness and peace. All the other states of so-called happiness or pleasure in this world are Maya's trick to try to keep us attached here. This is her thankless task, Prabhupada says. It's kind of a policeman. She's also, Durga means you can't go. It means a prison. So what's the prison? The prison really is within us, is all of our attachments. Sometimes they're called like the ropes or the knots in the heart, Hridaya Granthi. You develop an attachment for something, but you can never fulfill the desire completely in this life, so you go to the next life to try to keep fulfilling it. And this way you stay bound again and again and again and again and again, until finally the universe is over, finished, all annihilation, no more. Merge into the body of Mahavishnu and just stay there for millions of years. By great fortune, you're not conscious, but you still potentially, you can come out. And then finally you come out again. And who knows how many times we've been doing this. So understanding who we are, what our real mission is, and how we can try to achieve it and move towards success in it, that's the whole principle of this Bhagavad Gita. He's giving now different ways in which the living entity can start the process. And this very nice contrast between Sāṅkhya and yoga. Yoga here means bhakti yoga, or the karma yoga aspect of it, but it's bhakti. And Sāṅkhya means this analysis. What am I? What am I composed of? How did it come to be? Oh, okay. Because real Sāṅkhya means going to the source, understanding that Krishna is there and that every atom has a super soul. And I also have a manifestation. So Krishna is everywhere. He's everywhere in the form of that super soul. This is quite a vision to try to keep, I remember reading the introduction to this book for the first time, and this one line just come out. And Prabhupada is describing the super soul is within our heart, and he knows everything. He knows what we're thinking, knows everything we thought, And he says there, Prabhupada says, one should not forget this, because this is what we really forget. We forget that, we're not independent in anything we do is completely dependent on a higher power, right? And you learn that, if you get a disease, or you can't get up out of bed really, or a friend of yours has an accident and is paralyzed, you know about these things. We're obviously not independent. Material nature is unpredictable. So we're in a very tenuous condition here. But if we have our wits about us, we say, okay, let me use my time and energy, intelligence for this, for trying to reach a higher state where beyond all of this asat. What is that great, I learned this before I even heard about Krishna consciousness. Asatomat sadgamaya, amitam va mrityum va amitam gamaya, tamasoma, what is it? Tamasi ma sat, what is it, I forget, but this, didn't you learn it as a child? You forget too. See, this is the problem, we all forget. But what the idea is, don't stay in the darkness, come to the light. You see? Don't stay in the ignorance, come to knowledge. Don't stay in the impermanent, asatoma, come to the eternal. And mrityum va amitam, don't stay in the world of death, come to the world of eternal life. It's an injunction. And actually it can be read two ways. Prabhupada always said this word ma means don't. But ma in this context can also be me. You're appealing to God, please take me from darkness to light, from death to immortality, from the temporary to the eternal. And that's like the mission of the Vedic culture. But Prabhupada is actually giving the understanding of how to do it and what that light really is. Yeah, it's a bright light, but within that light is Goloka Vrindavan, and on that planet is Krishna in all the activities. It's not just from darkness to light. We're not going to merge into the light. We don't want that. Because there's no bhakti there. Bhakti requires Bhagavan, the bhakta, and the bhakti relationship. You go to Brahmajyoti, there's nothing there. The only value is, no more death, no more birth, no more disease, no more old age. I've made it. But how long can you be happy there? We're persons. We want activity. We have the rasa. Said, all right, let me go down and start a hospital, right? So there's a verse, yen ye vindaksha vimuktamaninas tvayastabhavat avishuddha buddhaya aruha kritrena parang padang tatak patantya do anadvita yushmarangriya. The demigods are praying to Krishna in the womb. They come in secret, down into the dungeon there where he's about to take birth, in Kamsa's dungeon. And they know what's going to happen, so they're all praying. And this is the most famous prayer Prabhupada always quote. Besides the bhaktas, the devotees, O Lord, anye, there's others. Adavindaksha, O lotus-eyed Lord. Vimuktamaninas, they think they're liberated. You see? They've convinced themselves that they're liberated because they're in the Brahmajyoti. You see? Vayastabhavat avishuddha buddhaya. They're averse to worshiping you because their intelligence is not yet really purified. of Vishuddha Buddhaya. And then a few of them, not all, but a few with great austerities. Just imagine what it's like trying to control all the senses and the mind and the intelligence, you know, without the deities, without the holy name, without the devotees, without the prasadam. Just on your own, sitting there in the hills of the Himalayas, you know, and eating the roots and the fruits. Who can do that, you know? A precious few in this age, certainly. But even if someone does that, and they're able to rise up to the Brahman platform, you know, the platform of pure spirit, you know, they can't stay there. Aru Kṛṣṇa Parampadam. Paramadam is a general description of the spiritual plane, okay, Brahmabhuta. Padambada patantyadho, they come down, they fall down again. Patantyadho, anadrita yushmarangre, because they're averse to worshipping your lotus feet. They don't want to accept the position of servant and of God, you know. I've got liberation, and heck with everyone else. It doesn't work. and it's anathema for devotees. Kaivalyam narakayate. Parodananda Saraswati says in his famous verse, for devotees, Kaivalyam, which is a shorthand for impersonal liberation, is like going to hell. Because there's no Krishna, there's no bhakti, there's no bhakti rasa. You are there simply as a, you know, as a conscious living entity with nothing to do and nobody to see and everything. So there's a heck with that, you know, for a devotee. And then he goes through the list. He says that as far as the heavenly, well, let's go to the heavenly planets. Nah, that's like a sky flower. Who cares about that? And then the very difficult to control senses, which is the yogis, you know, they practice meditation and pranayama and control the senses, you know. Because there's no bhakti, there's nothing, no chanting. It says, it's like they're like, the senses are like serpents, you know, poisonous serpents. They'll bite you. You know, your eyes see something and it takes away your consciousness, and then I lost it, I forgot Krishna. Or your tongue, you know, all these senses. So he says they're like senses that have their fangs removed, because you're using the senses in Krishna's service, so they're your friends, right? For a devotee to see the form of the Lord and chant His name, that's not Maya, that's Krishna consciousness. The same senses, the same voice, the same ear, the same, you know, that you use in Maya can be redirected to Krishna. That's the whole idea. And that's what Prabhupada talks about, isn't it? Detachment, was in this purport? That real detachment means attachment to Krishna. We went through this yesterday. Yukta vairagya. Yukta vairagya, that's this. As appropriate, engaging your senses, your mind and your intelligence, your wealth, everything you have, in the service of Krishna, linking it to Krishna. And that's real vairagya. And that gradually increases your spiritual pleasure, because Krishna is pleased with you. It's as simple as that. And He's inside your heart. And the more that you're in that mood of really serving Him sincerely, the more bliss He gives you and the more detachment He gives you. It's all coming from Krishna. And if we try to do it alone without Krishna, then we fail. It's pathetic. All right, let's go on. I think 6. Yeah, 6. Sannyasastu mahabaho dukkhamaptum mayogataha yoga yukto muni brahma nachirena digacchati. Merely renouncing all activities, yet not engaging in the devotional service of the Lord, cannot make one happy. And in fact, if you look at the word by words, we're discussing this, cannot make one happy is kind of, you know, doesn't really say, afflicts one with distress. That's a little more than can't make one happy, isn't it? It afflicts one with distress. Think about that. But a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay. So that's it. Without Krishna, sannyas is very difficult and self-defeating. Purport. There are two classes of sannyasis, or persons in the renounced order of life. The Mayavadi sannyasis are engaged in the study of Sāṅkhya philosophy, whereas the Vaishnava sannyasis are engaged in the study of Bhagavatam philosophy, which affords the proper commentary on the Vedanta Sutras. The Mayavadi sannyasis also study the Vedanta Sutras, but use their own commentary called the Sharirika Bhashya, written by Shankaracharya. The students of the Bhagavad school are engaged in the devotional service of the Lord according to the Pancharatriki regulations, and therefore the Vaishnava sannyasis have multiple engagements in the transcendental service of the Lord. The Vaishnava sannyasis have nothing to do with material activities, and yet they perform various activities in their devotional service to the Lord. But the Mayavadi sannyasis engaged in the studies of Sāṅkhya and Vedanta and speculation cannot relish the transcendental service of the Lord. Because their studies become very tedious, they sometimes become tired of Brahman speculation, and thus they take shelter of the Bhagavatam without proper understanding. Consequently, their study of the Srimad Bhagavatam becomes troublesome. Dry speculations and impersonal interpretations by artificial means are all useless for the Mayavadi sannyasis. The Vaishnava sannyasis who are engaged in devotional service are happy in the discharge of their transcendental duties, and they have the guarantee of ultimate entrance into the kingdom of God. The Mayavadi sannyasis sometimes fall down from the path of self-realization and again enter into material activities of a philanthropic and altruistic nature, which are nothing but material engagements. Therefore, the conclusion is that those who are engaged in Krishna-conscious activities are better situated than the sannyasis engaged in simple speculation about what is Brahman and what is not Brahman, although they too come to Krishna consciousness after many, many births. So we don't want to wait many, many births. So this is, he's kind of summing up here that as Krishna says, sannyas without yoga is dukkam aptam. It will definitely bring you unhappiness. So sannyas or no sannyas, the principle of renunciation is central to devotional service. But it's not. But renunciation can mean two different things. There's tyaga and there's vairagya. Tyaga means literally giving up. That's also part of it. We give up things that are just out of the realm, you know. But more important than that is this vairagya principle. Even while moving amongst all the objects of the senses, just like the perfect example is prasadam. You know, we make these wonderful dishes, and you could just sell them in a restaurant, you know. And there's Indian restaurants, they don't say, oh, this is prasadam, you know. They've got the art of cooking, and some people like that food. Okay, great. But there's nothing spiritual about it. The same rice, the same dal, the same spices, everything is there, you know. But it's not offered to Krishna, nor is it cooked with Krishna in mind. So the consciousness is everything. The Prabhupada, you know, he pioneered. He was the first cook, and he taught, you know, the first, you know, Kṛṣṇa how to cook and everything. And the whole art has come down. Yamuna perfected it. She did research. She wrote a book. You know, she was great. So but the whole idea, and she showed that, you know, that the whole idea is you're doing it for Krishna's pleasure. You're thinking of him at every moment as you're doing it. This is, you know, this is going to be really nice and offered to Krishna. And then when the devotees taste that, it's like heavenly experience. You know, more than heaven. It's a Goloka experience. But it's the point is you're taking that same matter, but in one sense you're using it, you know, open a restaurant, make money, whatever, you know, or just cook for yourself. It's Maya. You know, the same prep could be Maya if it's not. But if it's really, you know, the consciousness is there. Oh, the Krishna's going to taste this. And then you're saying, you know, you're thinking of him when you do it. You're chanting. You're offering it, and the same devotees are also in that same mood. It becomes a sacrament. It's actually a very important part of our philosophy. You know, doing that for Krishna. So that's the difference. It's all learning how to use the things at our disposal, beginning with our own bodies, mind, intelligence, you know, and then whatever, you know, is given to us to connect to Krishna. And those things become sacred also. Like these aren't ordinary benches. This is an ordinary temple, you know, or ordinary building, obviously, you know, because it's been connected to Krishna by the consciousness. The spiritual master taught us how to, you know, install the deities and the mantras, and so the whole thing becomes spiritualized. The very matter that is, you know, could be used for a million different things and just be Maya is used for Krishna and is an agent in transcending. And that's the whole art of Krishna consciousness. Beginning with the sound, the transcendental sound. It ultimately, and actually the material world begins with sound. The first word is Om, you know, and Krishna is created that way. But it can also be dissolved by sound, by the transcendental mantra. So mantras, actually. Prabhupada once said all these verses are mantras. You can say them again and again and get absorbed in the meaning. Okay, any discussion on this point? On these points? Okay. Yes, Prabhu.
Thanks, Jim. I had two questions. You mentioned a cookbook or something just a moment ago.
Oh, yeah.
What's that called?
Krishna's Cuisine. This was a prize-winning cookbook, internationally. She worked on it for years, and I remember it was years and years in the making. I forget the year it came out, but it was full, you know, she was such an experienced cook. She went all over India and took notes and learned from every, you know, it was amazing. And all of the recipes were tried out, you know, and so it was recognized. I can get more information for you if you're interested in it.
Krishna Cuisine?
Yeah, Krishna Cuisine. It may be on Amazon.
And then my second question, this second to last sentence, or the third to last sentence, it says, the Mayavadi fall down the path, enter into material activities of a philanthropic and altruistic nature. How could an activity that's philanthropic and altruistic be material? I would think it would be the opposite.
Yeah, well, the thing is you wouldn't say it's demonic, you know. In other words, there's a whole spectrum of material activities. So it's in the realm of materially good activities. In other words, they want to help people, you know, say help in hospitals or feeding or schooling, whatever it may be. And that's not sinful activity. You're not going to burn in hell for that. But the thing is, it's based on the concept of helping people in their material lives. You know, okay, they're hungry, we'll feed them. It doesn't matter if we feed them a prasadam or not, we just feed them because they're hungry. So that's good, provided you're not, you know, feeding them meat or anything. But the idea is that the best philanthropic activity, the best activity that we can do is to teach someone how they can perfect their lives and get out of this material world. So Krishna consciousness, and there is also this aspect of feeding. In Jagannath Puri, where they feed thousands of people every day in the temple, the Krishna temple there, the Jagannath temple. And we also have that, you know, especially at our festivals, big festivals, we feed so many people. And even our little, you know, Sunday feast for $5, it's, you know, you can't get a nice meal like all you can eat, you know, such nice food for $5. So it's a positive thing like that. But that's not the underlying motive of it. The underlying motive is to interest people in the whole process of devotional service, which is the ultimate act of altruism or kindness or mercy or compassion that you can give. Because it's giving us a chance to, you know, finish this material life, this struggle, and actually go back to Godhead forever. So you're offering people a ticket to eternal life, rather than ameliorating the sufferings in this life. That's the idea. So that's why he says material engagements. They're good, nice, you know, pious material engagements, but they're not ultimately spiritual. Because they're not on the spiritual level. You're not dealing with the people, you're dealing with them in terms of their hungry bodies. And okay, this will relieve that, you know. So that's the idea behind that, is that ultimately, you know, this is the best hospital because it's curing the disease of birth and death. Bhavaushadhi, it's even called a remedy, an herbal remedy, if you will. A remedy for the disease of birth and death, relation disease, is the Hare Krishna mantra and everything that comes from it, the whole process of devotional service. So that's why, you know, the devotees who are going out and trying to distribute books or preaching in any way, you know, involved in this movement, are really the best welfare workers for everyone. You know, we're not denying the importance of someone having a safe place to live and comfort and enough food to eat and medical care. That should also be there, but that's not our mission. In Chaupati, Radhanath Swami is such an incredible preacher that many of his disciples are doctors. And he said, okay, let's start a hospital. And so I've been to that hospital. You walk in, there's a big murti of Prabhupada, and you hear him chanting Hare Krishna. in the hospital. And people, but these are competent doctors, so the hospital is going on. Devotees go there, when they're mortally ill, and you can pass away with people chanting, like that. So it's that, but that's a very special arrangement, So that's the idea, that ultimately these things are good. Philanthropy is good. Altruism is good, but we should try to do the ultimate philanthropy and altruism, which is become Krishna conscious and give this invaluable medicine or method for solving all the problems, curing these disease forever. Why just ameliorate the disease and die again and come back again and you get disease again? This is really what it counts. All right, it's getting a little late, so I'll do a real short poem. Let's see. Okay. Smita Ruchi Makadanda. From the lotus of your face, dear Lord, trickles forth the luscious nectar of the beauty of your smile. Your exalted devotees, great swans, seek the fragrance of that lotus, which are there, their hearts beguile. Your beloved gopis' eyes, mad bees, taste the most exquisite pleasure in that lotus of your face. O my dear Mukunda Dev, I pray, may the lake of my poor heart be by that lotus ever graced. May I always remember your beautiful lotus face. So now we'll get to see Guru Hari's beautiful lotus face. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol. And thank you all for coming. I know you were thinking, well, it might rain while I'm there. It might pour again. So hopefully we're past the worst of it. Hare Krishna. All right, text 7 on Monday. Oh, you're welcome, Victor. Yeah.